Hey, this is Mary Lou Foster, and I'm so excited to share my first fractured card with you. I always thought they were too hard, and my ladies who come to my card classes were like, "We would really like to make one of those cards," and I'm like, "I don't know, they look really hard." Well, I took a class myself with my upline, Patty Bennett, and one of her friends, Tammy Savello, and they made this fractured card. Very easy. And I'm like, what am I so afraid of? So, my ladies made a fractured card in card class. We used the sketched butterflies stamp set because this one is going to be a birthday card, and the Unbounded Beauty Designer Series paper. This paper is so pretty. Of course, if you know me, you know I like pink and purple. Green's not my favorite, but in combination, you got to have the green to go with the flowers. I'll show you the colors it coordinates with. Look how pretty that paper is. Isn't that just gorgeous? Coordinates with Berry Burst, Calypso Coral, Peach Pie, Petunia Pop, Pretty in Pink, Pretty Peacock, Shy Shamrock, and Summer Splash. I'm making mine on, I believe it's Pretty in Pink, because I wanted to. This is a top fold card. So it's cut at 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. Your typical size card is just cut differently, so you have to stop and think a minute. So the sketched butterflies does come as a bundle. There are dies that coordinate with the butterflies. So for this card, we are using the butterflies that are attached to each other. The three, they die cut like this. I've already done my die cutting for today so that you wouldn't have to watch me do that. The secret to this card is starting in the center, which is kind of opposite of what a lot of us like to do. So for my class, I made the ladies a beginning sample. You start in the center with a 2-inch square. Now, does it have to be 2 inches? Probably not. You could do probably whatever size that you wanted, because it's the center of the card, and everything else size-wise is based along the resulting size. You start with your strips and you go all the way around your center before you start putting on your corners. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment and get that label stamped and ready to go. So wishing you a beautiful birthday. I love this because it's a combination of fonts. It's the squarish font and then a kind of a script font. And we do want it a little bit straight. So I use the top edge of the red rubber stamp, and it's crooked just a little bit, but the butterflies are going to make up the difference there. So other than the inside sentiment, that's the only stamping on the outside. We're letting the beautiful paper, the butterflies, do the work for us. All right, so I have my card base. I will put the cutting instructions and the list of supplies I've used on my blog, so you'll know what I've used. But the base is cut at 4 5 1/4, so that when you layer it on, you're going to have that little bit of matte around the edge, and it's just easier to work with. Here is our 2-inch square, and usually I'm working with grid paper to help, and this one has inches on it. You don't have to find the exact center, but I found that it does help if you're pretty close. And these are not the 1, 2, 3, 4s, but 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know 6. And I already had it pretty close just by eyeing it up. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4. So 2.5, and then an 8. So somewhere right along in there is the center. So we're going to go with that. So this is the card I'm making. I'm calling it a sketch butterfly fractured card. And I know my last video also was using the sketch butterflies, but I didn't think you would mind. So 1, 2, somewhere right along in there. And that point at the 6. Do it down just a little. That's pretty good. We're going to call it good. So that gets our centerpiece in. I didn't put the item number on there yet. I hope it's not too washed out. All right, so we're going to start. It doesn't really matter where you start. The secret to this is lining up this straight edge with that straight edge. No matter where you start, you kind of have to do that first step like that in order to get it. And the cool thing about it is it's going to nestle right up against the Designer Series paper, right along in here. So there's really not any measuring that you have to do after that. And then I don't like all 4 tails sticking out at the same time. So I made my ladies trim theirs. They're like, why do we have to do that? Well, because I don't like all those tails hanging out. And then this one is going to nestle right in, straight edge. And you can see every straight edge is lining up with the Designer Series paper. And this time it's going to be a pretty solid strip of adhesive. So let's line that up, nestle it up against the paper, and stick it down. And give it a little trim. You notice I turned it over to trim it because then I can see the straight edge of where I need to cut. And now this piece is going to go here. So I need to put my adhesive along about in there. You don't have to do the entire strip because the entire strip is not going to be stuck down. So you don't want all that sticky way out here where there's nothing to stick to. It just gets all over everything. And then this piece is going to go here, right off the edge of the paper. And put all the adhesive on there. So get that to that. Turn it over and paper snip it. And we have that part done. And then it's kind of up to you. I'll start with this one. And you can just kind of do it around until you figure out which of these flowers. But keep in mind now that you're going to trim that. So I think I'm going to put it on opposite corners. I think I'm going to start with this one. And this time, I'm going to put my adhesive on my card front. Because then I can see exactly how much I need. I believe that's pretty good. And you just square it all up in there. Push it in. Stick it down. And I believe I cut these 4x4, and I'm going to have enough then for this opposite corner if I can get a hold of it. Because I'm going to trim this off and trim it off. Designer Series paper is really easy to cut because you can just use the edge of that cardstock and kind of play with it now and see. That would work. The flower's kind of going the wrong direction. I think I'm going to do this one. Excuse me. So once again, put our adhesive along. It's way easier than trying to figure out where to put it on the back of the Designer Series paper, but everybody kind of has their own technique. Now I picked a spot that has a really dark pink flower. Totally up to you. Watch how pretty that's going to be when I cut that off. I like that it's giving us just little snippets of the paper. And you wouldn't have to use 4x4 because as you can see, I've got a lot left. And then our pretty, no, I cut those 4 1/4 because this piece, as you can see, if you don't get it centered, and if this piece isn't big enough, it barely covers. But we're going to be good because we're going to be careful to make it cover as good as we can. Turn it around this way. I can make that run on there a whole lot better. Oops, I went off. I need to go this way. Yeah, I just had the short edge. I did the adhesive over on there. Didn't mean to, but I did notice I had done that. All right, turn it over. Give it its haircut. Just like that. Now, if I've done it correctly now, this piece should just flip and go to the other corner. Right here. Yep. Either way. Either way will work. So we'll get our adhesive run. Stick it down there. Right there. And trim it off. Now, we've built our card front. And we're ready to stick our butterflies down. We have our, no, we're not. Let's put it on the card face next. Before we finish it. You could do it either way, but I would like to finish it on the card base. That's just, that paper is just so pretty. Okay. And I'm going to use glue dots in the center parts of these butterflies instead of trying to put adhesive all over the back. You could use the adhesive sheets if you want it stuck flat, but I kind of wanted my butterflies to have a little bit of movement to them, some airiness. And if you leave the wings loose, they lift up just a little bit. Let's see if we can get a glue dot underneath right there. So each butterfly will be stuck. You can kind of put it wherever you would like. Go do that, that, and that. But see, you can see that it creates shadows. It's not just flat on here. And this is on dimensionals. I'm going to put 3. I'm going to put one in the middle also. And there are little butterflies, oops, that I could decorate this label with. But I'm going to go with it just like that. And then on the inside, I've got sticky on here. That always aggravates me. I have the strip. It's a 1/2 inch by 4 inches that I'm going to put on the inside piece. And I'm going to trim it because it's just a little bit too wide. There we go. And here, well, I keep moving it. Hear that down. I think I want to do some butterflies. You brighten up so many of my days. It's going to go on the inside. I'm going to stamp it in Coastal Cabana. And it was just the color that I thought kind of coordinated with the front. Pulled out that color, even though it's really Summer Splash. Alrighty. And instead of stamping those also in that color, I am going to do the pretty in pink. And I'm not going to ink up all the butterflies. I'm going to ink up this little butterfly. Make sure I don't have it. And let me clean it off. Because now I want to ink one up on this side and I want it to face. I don't have a paper towel. Oop, I have a Kleenex. So when you clean it off, you better dry it, because sometimes what happens. So I want this little guy to flutter in. Oh yeah, perfect. And then, whoops, sorry, that was loud, wasn't it? So you want your front to be, your inside to be as pretty as your front. So this time, I just want, here's what I'll do. I'm going to cover up the butterflies that I do not want to ink, just by building, using Post-it notes. You can use that. We do have, forget what they call it, but we have that. Because I really just want that guy right there. Ink it up. Take off. And stamp. It worked. Yay. So that is our fractured butterfly birthday card. What do you think? I think it's really, really pretty. It's really, really sparkly. And I know your recipient is going to love it. Don't forget to embellish it with the 2024-26 in color shimmer dots. So that's all I had for you today. Here is the one that's finished with the dots already applied. Thanks for watching. Here is the paper I used. If you want more information about the card, you can go to my blog. And if you want to shop with me at maryloufoster.stampingup.net. That's all for today. See you next time. Bye.